Hey guys, it's Andrew here again, and in the last video we took a look at actually breaking down a given IP address and determining where it began, like what the network address is, right? And we're starting to take a look at the range and the scope of our address given an IP address and its subnet mask. And we took a look at this process over here called ANDing, where we take one input where we said this guy over here, this A column was my IP address, this B column was my subnet mask, and depending on the comparison between any given bit in one position of an IP and one position of the subnet mask, we can get this output AB, or in our case, the network address. And we went through this ANDing process bit by bit, so 1 to 1, 1 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, so on and so forth all the way down until we were able to figure out what the network portion of our address is. And in this case, we had /24, again, CIDR notation or / prefix notation here, /24, so 24 ones, 8 zeros, all right, 255.0, and we could see on this line here that we can determine that, again, based on a 1 is going to be a network bit, again, a rule. Don't have the rule written down anymore, but it is, again, it's a rule that a 1 is a network bit and a 0 is a host bit, all right, and we can determine the line, or essentially where our network ends and where it begins. All right, so our network here is 192.168.42.0, the network address, all right, /24, all right. So where does it actually end, all right? How do we determine where this darn thing ends, okay? And that brings us over to some of our rules and the broadcast address, all right? So we've got a new set of rules here, and what we're going to be looking for is, well, not to get too far ahead of myself, the rules here. So we've solved for the network address, right? The first thing we got to do in this whole process is solve for the network address, okay? Once we found the network address, we can go find the broadcast address. Now, this might seem a little counterintuitive. You might be thinking, well, I see you got first and last written up there. When I want to find the first and then the last address, well, actually, if we find the beginning and then we find all the way at the end, we've got two simple rules here for quickly finding the first and last address, and then anything in between there, okay? So first, we're going to find the broadcast address, and I've got this flip host bits here. What's that all about? Well, first, by finding the network, we found the network portion of the address here, and the host portion of address there, okay? So the network portion of the address here, and these guys are our host bits, all right? We have 8 host bits. So if I flip the bits, I'm literally flipping them from zeros to ones because it's binary. I can only go in one or the other direction, right? It's either going to be a 0 or a 1. So let's translate all this down, but instead take this down here, these zeros, and flip them, okay? So if I bring this down, all right, I've got 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, right? And that is our 192.168.42. That doesn't change, right? That remains the same because, again, this is the network portion of the address. It's going to remain constant, okay? But our host bits right here, we're going to flip all of these. So instead of all zeros, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 8 ones. What is 8 ones? What are the 8 ones in binary? What's that in decimal? Well, 8 ones, 255. All right, so now we know our broadcast address. We know where the network begins, right? We can denote the beginning of the network, right? Right here, right. The beginning of the network is 192.168.42.0, okay? And the broadcast is 192.168.42.255. So our range is anything in between there, right? Anything in between here. So we go back over here to our third rule. We're going to find our first address, and the first address is +1, the network address. Seems simple enough. So if the network address is 192.168.42.0, what's 0 plus 1? Again, base 10 system now, right? Base 10 in decimal. 0 plus 1 is 1, right? In this case, it's 1. Now, this could change. We could have different networks, different size networks. When we start looking outside of our octal boundaries here and we start messing with this line, that could change. But for now, .1, right, +1, the network, and then for the broadcast, or sorry, the last address, -1, the broadcast address. So 192.168.42.254. All right. So now at this point, we've really gotten into the basics, and then really into the cream of the crop here for subnetting. All right. We're given some IP address in a range, given this subnet mask, right? We've determined what is the network address, what is the broadcast address, given us the entire scope of the network, right? And then what addresses are actually usable, right? We can use .1, .2, .3, all the way up from .1, including .1, up to 2.254, including it, all right? So 1 to 254, including those addresses. Now I've got this last rule down here. It says total usable addresses 2 to h minus 2. What the heck are you talking about, Andrew? All right? And you could almost look at it like this here. All right, 2 to the h, actually, scratch that. I got that wrong. One moment. 2 to the h minus 2. There we go. All right. Well, h in our case is going to represent the number of host bits. All right. So we have 8 total host bits. So it's a base 2 system. We have 8 total host bits, which is a value of 256, or 2 times itself 8 times, right? Again, basic exponents here, all right? So 256 minus 2 is 254. This gives us the total number of hosts that our network can support. Remember a few videos back I said that a class C, a standard class C, /24 could have 254 hosts per X number of networks, right? Well, there we go. There's our 254, right? And 1, including the number 1, all the way up to 254, including the number 254, is 254 total values, or 254 total hosts that can be assigned different IP addresses given this network inside this network, in this range. All right. So again, this is the basics, and generally I refer to this as, some people also do it as well, as Nflb, right? Network first last broadcast. We are finding where the network begins, what the broadcast address is, and the first and a last address that are usable, right? These are usable IP addresses for our different hosts, okay? So we're going to take another look, another example at this in the next video.